You know, and this is what the top dogs in the World Economic Forum pride themselves on, is that they have infinite expenditures. But to say that that's of a commission of everyone's consciousness to sell their soul in something that isn't dignified, to explain why you're alive, till it was made perfect, where if it couldn't become perfect unless you were changed, how much would that be willing to take? Decoding enemy transmissions. An unstoppable force means an immovable object. Conscious-wise, this is what it would look like. If someone can never be wrong, this is what they do. A, put words in your mouth that you didn't say. B, forget important things that they should have remembered. And they say, oh, I don't remember saying that. This is what you do. You have to say, just because you forgot something doesn't mean it wasn't true. You just have to repeat A. But making it more colorful would be something that would be more honorable, seeing as there's no honor in between thieves. What a lab would have you encumber, it can't be anything that we should be giving up in order to prop it up. A counterintuitive sense can be massively gaslit, and all the eggs in one basket is never a good thing. Now, I'm not against science, and I understand that the muons, they're a certain part of excitations of particle frequency that are easily manipulated and contorted, and the grasp on this has been accomplished. Just because you can do that doesn't mean curing is going to be caused. What if it was illegal to oppose authority and then their policies that they were enforcing were criminal? How would that be handled? But more importantly, how would you be able to not get handled? So what's the combination of big and small, or not at all? Well, if they were all tied so tight together that you couldn't discern if it was one or the other. This encasing is what qubits are. You can go left, right, or both at the same time. And in order to simplify or classically incline a quantified, and so when the information's relayed to the higher ups that this is the best bet, as in like it's the only shot we have, is kind of prescribed in that way when no one else is saying anything different. And then just the more it's published and read, it's as if it's now renowned as the solution. And so the more you're just glorifying this one small crevice, you know, like when you wrap up a present and then you put it inside of a box of another present and you continuously do that, that's called the China doll, a toy of antique that they first had found fit inside of it multiple times. If you were to decompartmentalize a China doll, what you'd be left with is an abacus. An abacus, though it may seem like a toy if it's colorful nowadays, is nothing but a China doll taken out of all of its links so it could be added up on a grid. If you're being taken by a bird or a spider, but it was so big that you couldn't see because you were caught blindsided, other than looking down at what's grabbing you. A tarantula's fangs and a hawk's talons are really sharp and really long, and they're both used to grapple you. On the opposite end, if something was so small that it was just twice as evasive, it could be twice as worse as well. In Canada, there's a convoy of truckers, and it wasn't formed by a super PAC. And there was a GoFundMe to support, you know, the crowds as it persists. And then they're stopping the funding in order to limit the food and medicine to make them stop is kind of bad because it eliminates a community sense. Where once I had to use the bathroom and it was the 4th of July watching fireworks, I asked someone if I could use their home and they said yes. Whereas nowadays, it would probably be no. This is politicizing the ground you walk on and making the air you breathe a weapon that is fit to design whether or not you can weather the storm. Politicizing your entire physiology, where it's almost impossible to not be something that he claims you are. You know, and this is what the top dogs in the World Economic Forum pride themselves on, is that they have infinite expenditures. But to say that that's of a commission of everyone's consciousness, and for them to sell their soul in something that isn't dignified, whereas to explain why you're alive, derogatory to a dignity. You eat a whole bunch of crackers and then take a whole bunch of vitamins. It isn't that you ate an entire full course meal. If you ate a whole bunch of ice cubes and then drank like a really nice milkshake, and then you felt full because eating ice cubes makes you feel full, that isn't any better either. And then just having Thanksgiving once a year and doing that for the duration of time isn't gratified. You know, whether you can make an entire engine out of just BS you find on the side of the road, once the quality of life isn't addressed, you're doing this trick without anything being a real material sense. Gratifying being ratified, and it's actually more deconstructive than the fine print on white papers. Ghost town in blank city, where the insiders traded the industrial complex at its finest, a thing that's closed only to some. Hey, do you know what rich people in the entire world do? They have a blue pass, so they get to go on planes and go to islands that are theirs, and they don't have to get tested for anything that could be hazardous upon arrival or during descent. Is that Einstein would explain the constituents of the early universe are all explained in high school arithmetic. And that's what they can't wrap their heads around, why it's so simple. The division of 0 is an error, and I know why and they don't, and that's why I'm tooting my horn. But instead of running around with chickens with their heads cut off, realizing what a light ray could be, look at what this guy did with a light. He was able to view a brain. So back to being cheesy, the answer is your subconscious controls the world, and everyone together being one isn't like a niche part. I'm not belittling the mu particles. You can focus in on them too, but that's not what defines you. The thought of saying that we should embrace this region of the muons because we're able to control and contort them. So a material world is good, and we're in it, but we're not of it. It can't be like utilized to have life-changing decisions be based upon if you're able to be prosperous in it. I read an article and it was dealing with the mu particles, how there's these mu particles in the particles of the standard model, and it was tapping in, and there's this new wave of physics needing to be born, and so they capitalize off entangling and exciting these mu particles through this small area where they find them in, and they call it a variable wobble, a viable, viable wobble, and then they're saying how we're emanating off of this is kind of like poking how the entire climate changing problem is just because of cow flatulence, and then aiming us at how much we need cows.